What if one man's stare could topple an empire in the frozen heart of Tsarist Russia? Grigori Rasputin, a wild-eyed peasant with a tangled beard and hypnotic eyes, walked into the royal court and bent history to his will. Was he a mystic, a charlatan, or something far darker? If this tale of mystery and menace hooks you, hit that subscribe button and share this video with friends who love history's strangest stories. Drop a comment. Could you resist Rasputin's gaze? Let's unravel the enigma of the man they called the Mad Monk. Grigori Rasputin was born in 1869 in a remote Siberian village, Pokrovskoye, a place so harsh it seemed to forge men from ice and grit. He wasn't born noble, no silver spoons or silk robes for him. A peasant with little education, Rasputin's early life was marked by brawls, drunkenness, and whispers of petty crime. Yet something set him apart. His piercing blue eyes, described by those who met him as almost otherworldly, capable of holding you captive as if peering into your soul. By his 30s, he had transformed from a rough-hewn farmer into a self-proclaimed holy man, claiming visions from God and a gift for healing. Historical accounts note his unkempt appearance, matted hair, a stench of sweat and herbs, and a voice both soft and commanding. This was no polished priest, but a raw, magnetic force. Rasputin's rise began in 1905, when he arrived in St. Petersburg, a city glittering with imperial wealth, but teetering on the edge of unrest. Russia was a powder-keg poverty war, and revolution simmered beneath the Romanovs' opulence. Rasputin, barely literate, shouldn't have stood a chance among the elite, yet his charisma was electric. Noblewomen fawned over him, drawn to his raw spirituality. Men feared or envied his influence. By 1906, he had caught the eye of Tsar Nicholas II and Tsarina Alexandra, desperate for a miracle to save their hemophiliac son, Alexei. Rasputin's alleged ability to ease the boy's suffering through prayer hypnosis or sheer force of will made him indispensable. Modern science suggests he may have used rudimentary psychological techniques or even herbal remedies, but to the royal family, it was divine. His physical presence was as shocking as his influence. Standing over 6 feet with a lean frame and hands that seemed to tremble with energy, Rasputin was a paradox, repulsive, yet alluring. Contemporaries described his gaze as burning, capable of calming or unsettling anyone in his orbit. Some claimed he could stop bleeding with a touch. Others swore he seduced women with a glance. These stories exaggerated or not fueled his myth. By 1910, he was a fixture at court, whispering in the Tsarina's ear his influence over Russia's rulers, a scandal that shook the empire. But was Rasputin a saint or a schemer? Modern historians debate his motives. Some see a cunning manipulator exploiting a desperate family. Others a devout mystic misunderstood by a cynical elite. His ability to survive scandals, assassination attempts, and public hatred only deepened his legend. What secrets did those hypnotic eyes hide, and how did a peasant wield such power? In the next part, we'll dive into Rasputin's strange rituals and the whispers of dark practices that followed him. Can you handle the truth behind his mysticism, the mystic's forbidden rituals? What dark secrets did Grigori Rasputin weave in the shadows of St. Petersburg's glittering palaces? The Mad Monk wasn't just a healer with hypnotic eyes. He was a man whose strange rituals and scandalous behavior sent shockwaves through Russia's elite. If this tale of mysticism and menace keeps you hooked, hit that like button and subscribe to Weird History Unveiled for more chilling true stories. Share this with friends who love dark history and comment below. Would you dare attend one of Rasputin's rituals? Let's dive into the forbidden world of his mystic practices. By 1910, Grigori Rasputin had cemented his place in the Russian imperial court, a peasant-turned-prophet whose influence over Tsar Nicholas II and Tsarina Alexandra seemed unbreakable. His ability to ease the suffering of their hemophiliac son, Alexei, earned him near-divine status in the royal household. But it was his bizarre rituals and whispered debauchery that fueled his infamy. Rasputin's spiritual practices rooted in an obscure Christian sect called the Khlysty fervent prayer with ecstatic, almost heretical rites. The Khlysty believed sin could lead to salvation, and Rasputin's interpretation of this doctrine raised eyebrows and pulses across St. Petersburg. Picture a dimly lit room in a noblewoman's mansion, the air thick with incense and the flicker of candles. Rasputin, his tall frame looming, his eyes glinting like blue flames, led gatherings of devotees, mostly women, from Russia's upper crust. Historical accounts describe these prayer meetings as frenzied with chanting, dancing, and moments of trance-like fervor. Some witnesses claimed Rasputin encouraged acts of physical intimacy, arguing that sinning deeply brought one closer to God's grace. These claims, recorded in diaries and secret police reports, painted him as a libertine, seducing noblewomen under the guise of spiritual cleansing. Modern scholars debate how much was true versus slander Rasputin's enemies, including rival clergy, and nobles had reason to exaggerate, but the sheer volume of accounts suggests some truth. One noblewoman, Anna Virabova, wrote of his magnetic power, her devotion bordering on obsession. Rasputin's rituals weren't just scandalous, they were dangerous. His Khlysty-inspired practices clashed with the Russian Orthodox Church, branding him a heretic in the eyes of many. He claimed visions from God, speaking of divine light guiding his actions, but critics saw a charlatan manipulating vulnerable souls. His healing sessions with Alexei were equally strange hours of murmured prayers, gentle touches, and an uncanny ability to calm the boy's bleeding episodes. Modern medicine suggests hypnosis or placebo effects, but to the Tsarina, it was a miracle. These sessions often private-fueled rumors of improper influence over Alexandra, with some whispering of an affair, though no evidence confirms this. The emotional toll was stark. Noble families torn between fascination and disgust saw daughters and wives fall under Rasputin's spell, their reputations tarnished. The Russian public, struggling through war and poverty, grew enraged at the idea of a filthy peasant swaying their rulers. Rasputin's behavior, public drunkenness, boasting of his royal ties, only fanned the flames. By 1914, his enemies were legion, from jealous courtiers to revolutionary agitators, all eager to topple the mystic who seemed untouchable. What drove Rasputin's rituals, faith, lust, or cunning? His blend of spirituality and scandal made him a lightning rod for hatred, yet his survival through early assassination attempts only deepened his myth. In the next part, we'll explore the growing conspiracies against him and the forces that sought his downfall. Can you withstand the storm brewing around the Mad Monk, the storm of enemies who could stop a man who seemed to defy death itself? By 1914, Grigori Rasputin, the Mad Monk, had become a lightning rod for hatred, his hypnotic hold over Russia's royal family, sparking conspiracies that would shake an empire. His enemies, nobles, clergy, and revolutionaries, wanted him gone, but his uncanny ability to survive only fueled their fear. If this tale of betrayal and danger grips you, smash that subscribe button and share this video with friends who love history's darkest secrets. Drop a comment. Would you have dared to plot against Rasputin? Let's uncover the storm that sought to destroy him. Grigori Rasputin, now in his mid-40s, was at the height of his power in St. Petersburg, a peasant-turned-mystic, whispering in the Tsarina's ear, while Russia teetered on the brink of chaos. World War I had plunged the nation into despair. Soldiers died by the thousands. Breadlines grew, and revolutionary whispers filled the air. Rasputin's influence over Tsar Nicholas II and Tsarina Alexandra, particularly in matters of state, was no longer just scandalous. It was dangerous. His advice, often erratic, sometimes political-shaped decisions like appointing ministers or military strategies infuriating the Russian elite. Historical records, including letters from nobles, reveal their outrage. A filthy peasant was steering the empire, while the Tsar was away at the front. His enemies were a diverse coalition. The Russian Orthodox Church branded him a heretic, appalled by his Khlysty-inspired rituals and rumored debauchery. Bishops wrote scathing reports calling him a false prophet who mocked God. Nobles like Prince Felix Yusupov saw Rasputin as a threat to their power, his sway over Alexandra, a stain on the monarchy's dignity. Revolutionaries, both Bolsheviks and moderates, used him as a symbol of imperial corruption, rallying the masses against the Romanovs. Even the Tsar's own relatives, like Grand Duke Nicholas, despised Rasputin, blaming him for Russia's woes. One shocking detail emerges from 1914 police reports. A noblewoman, Kyonia Guseva, stabbed Rasputin in the stomach, screaming, "I've killed the Antichrist." He survived his recovery, baffling doctors and cementing his supernatural aura. Imagine the tension in St. Petersburg's salons, whispered plots, furtive glances, and coded letters, planning Rasputin's demise. His behavior didn't help public drunkenness, boasting of his royal influence, and rumored affairs with noblewomen fueled the fire. Yet Rasputin seemed untouchable. Modern psychology suggests his charisma and confidence created a cult-like loyalty among his followers, including Alexandra, who called him our friend. His survival of the 1914 stabbing, requiring weeks of recovery, only deepened the myth of his invincibility. Some whispered he was protected by dark forces, a rumor he leaned into claiming divine favor. The emotional stakes were high. For the Russian people, Rasputin was a scapegoat for their suffering hunger war and oppression. For the elite, he was a humiliating reminder of their weakening grip. The victims of his influence, soldiers sent to die under poor leadership families, torn by his scandals, felt the ripple effects of his power. By 1916, the conspiracies were no longer whispers. They were plans. A group of nobles led by Yusupov was ready to act. What would it take to kill a man who seemed immortal? In the next part, we'll dive into the infamous night of Rasputin's murder, a tale of poison bullets and betrayal. Can you face the grisly end of the Mad Monk the night death failed? How do you kill a man who seems to defy death itself? On a frigid December night in 1916, Grigori Rasputin faced a plot to end his life, a conspiracy of poison bullets and betrayal that would become one of history's most chilling murder tales. Yet the Mad Monk refused to die easily, his final hours a testament to his uncanny resilience. If this saga of treachery and terror grips you, smash that subscribe button and share this video with friends who crave history's darkest mysteries. Drop a comment. Could you have faced Rasputin in his final moments? Let's unravel the night death failed. By late 1916, Grigori Rasputin's influence over the Russian imperial court had become a national scandal. His enemies, nobles, clergy, and revolutionaries saw him as a cancer eating away at the Romanov dynasty. World War I's devastation and Russia's crumbling economy fueled their desperation. A group of conspirators, led by the charismatic Prince Felix Yusupov, decided to act. Yusupov, married to the Tsar's niece, was joined by Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich and politician Vladimir Purishkevich, among others. Their plan was simple: lure Rasputin to Yusupov's Moika palace, poison him, and dispose of the body. But history records a night far more gruesome. On December 30th, 1916, Rasputin arrived at the palace expecting a party. Yusupov, playing the gracious host, offered him cakes and wine laced with cyanide at enough to kill several men. Picture the scene: a dimly lit basement, a gramophone playing softly, Rasputin's wild eyes gleaming as he ate, oblivious to the poison. Historical accounts drawn from Yusupov's memoirs claim Rasputin consumed the tainted food and drink without flinching, his laughter echoing as Yusupov's heart raced. Modern toxicology suggests cyanide resistance is rare, but possible perhaps due to Rasputin's robust constitution or improper poison preparation. The conspirators, stunned, watched as he complained only of a slight burn in his throat. Panic set in. Yusupov, trembling, fetched a revolver and shot Rasputin in the chest. The mystic collapsed, blood pooling on the ornate rug. The conspirators thought it was over until Rasputin stirred his eyes, snapping open, and lunged at Yusupov with a guttural roar. Imagine the terror, a man shot and poisoned, charging like a beast from a nightmare. He stumbled outside where Purishkevich fired again, hitting him in the back and head. Still, Rasputin crawled toward the frozen Neva River. The conspirators, now frantic, beat him and bound his body, dumping it through a hole in the ice. An autopsy later revealed water in his lungs. He had drowned, suggesting he was alive when submerged. The emotional weight is staggering. For the conspirators, it was a desperate act to save Russia, yet their brutality mirrored the chaos they despised. For Rasputin's followers, his death was a martyrdom, proof of his divine favor. The Russian people, divided, saw him as either a devil or a victim. Modern analysis questions the details. Yusupov's account may have been embellished to paint Rasputin as supernatural, but the physical evidence, including bullet wounds and waterlogged lungs, confirms a violent end. Rasputin's murder didn't save the Romanovs. It hastened their fall. But how did his death shape Russia's collapse, and what secrets did his body reveal? In the next part, we'll explore the aftermath of that fateful night and the unraveling of an empire. Can you handle the fallout of the Mad Monk? The empire's unraveling's what happens when a mystic's death lights the fuse of a dying empire. The murder of Grigori Rasputin in December 1916 didn't save Russia. It plunged it deeper into chaos as the Romanov dynasty teetered on the edge of collapse. His blood-soaked end was meant to cleanse the court, but it only exposed the rot within. If this tale of betrayal and downfall hooks, you smash that subscribe button and share this video with friends who love history's darkest chapters. Drop a comment. Did Rasputin's death doom the Romanovs, or was it too late? Let's explore the fallout of the Mad Monk's demise. On January 1st, 1917, Rasputin's body was pulled from the icy Neva River. His wrists still bound, his lungs filled with water, a chilling testament to his refusal to die easily. The autopsy, detailed in historical records, confirmed a brutal end. Cyanide traces, bullet wounds, and evidence of drowning. St. Petersburg buzzed with shock and division. To the Tsarina Alexandra, Rasputin's death was a personal tragedy. She mourned him as a saint, clutching his letters and praying for his soul. To the conspirators, led by Prince Felix Yusupov, it was a patriotic triumph, a desperate bid to save the monarchy from a peasant's grip. To the Russian people, starving and weary from World War I, it was a spark in a powder keg of resentment. The murder didn't end Rasputin's influence, it amplified it. His death became a symbol of the Romanovs' disconnect from reality. Alexandra's grief, described in court diaries as near hysterical, alienated nobles who already distrusted her German heritage. Tsar Nicholas II, away at the war front, seemed weak, unable to control his court or his people. The conspirators, Yusupov, Grand Duke Dmitry, and Vladimir Purishkevich, faced no real punishment, their noble status shielding them, but their act backfired. Public opinion turned against the elite, with revolutionaries seizing on Rasputin's murder as proof of imperial corruption. Bolshevik pamphlets called him a victim of aristocratic treachery, rallying the masses. Imagine the scene: Petrograd's streets choked with snow and anger, where workers whispered of the Mad Monk, whose death exposed the Tsar's failures. Rasputin's followers, noblewomen and peasants alike, mourned him as a martyr, some claiming visions of his spirit. A lesser-known detail, recorded in a 1917 police report, adds a haunting twist at his funeral, attended by the royal family in secret. A small crowd gathered, believing his body would rise from the grave. It didn't. but the myth of his invincibility lingered, fueling tales of supernatural power. Modern historians argue Rasputin's death accelerated Russia's collapse. By March 1917, riots erupted, and Nicholas II abdicated, ending 300 years of Romanov rule. The provisional government, then the Bolsheviks, capitalized on the chaos Rasputin's scandal had inflamed. Modern psychology suggests his influence exposed a deeper flaw. The Romanovs' reliance on a charismatic outsider revealed their desperation and isolation. The emotional toll was profound. Families of soldiers blamed Rasputin's meddling for military failures, while his devotees felt a spiritual void. Rasputin's death didn't heal Russia. It broke it. But what legacy did he leave in the ashes of the empire? In the next part, we'll explore how Rasputin's myth grew, shaping culture and history long after his body sank into the Neva. Can you face the enduring shadow of the Mad Monk, the myth that outlived the man? How does a peasant's shadow loom larger than an empire? Grigori Rasputin's gruesome death in 1916 didn't silence his name. It birthed a legend that haunted Russia and the world, transforming the Mad Monk into a symbol of mysticism, scandal, and doom. His story, steeped in blood and mystery, became a cultural force that still grips us today. If this tale of enduring infamy hooks you, smash that subscribe button and share this video with friends who love history's darkest corners. Drop a comment. Does Rasputin's legend still chill you? Let's unravel the myth that outlived the man. When Rasputin's body was pulled from the Neva River in January 1917, his death marked a turning point for Russia. The Romanov dynasty collapsed months later, and the Bolshevik Revolution swept away the old order. Yet Rasputin's name didn't fade. It grew, fueled by sensational stories that spread like wildfire. In Petrograd's chaotic streets, pamphlets painted him as everything from a saint to a demon. Some called him a prophet, martyred by jealous nobles. Others a devil whose influence cursed the czars. A chilling detail, recorded in a 1917 memoir by a royal aide, adds to the mystique. Rasputin's body, briefly displayed before burial, drew crowds who swore. His eyes flickered, as if refusing death's final claim. His legend took root in Russia's psyche. For the devout, Rasputin was a holy figure, his healing of Tsarevich Alexei, proof of divine favor. Small shrines appeared in villages where peasants prayed to his spirit, believing he could still intercede with God. For revolutionaries, he was a symbol of imperial rot, his scandals weaponized to rally the masses. By 1918, as the Bolsheviks executed the Romanovs, Rasputin's name was invoked in propaganda, a shorthand for the monarchy's failures. Historical accounts note that early Soviet films portrayed him as a grotesque villain, his hypnotic eyes exaggerated to monstrous proportions. Beyond Russia, Rasputin's story captivated the world. In the 1920s, European newspapers ran lurid tales of his rituals and murder, blending fact with fiction. His image, wild, beard-piercing gaze, inspired early horror films with characters modeled on his mystique. Modern scholars see parallels in vampire myths, noting how his undying nature echoed Gothic tropes. By the 1970s, Hollywood embraced him in films like Rasputin the Mad Monk, 1966, cementing his place in pop culture. Even today, his name appears in music, from Boney M's 1978 hit Rasputin to video games where he's a shadowy, supernatural figure. The emotional resonance is profound. Rasputin's victims, indirectly the soldiers who died under his meddling. The families torn by his scandals evoke sympathy for a nation betrayed by its leaders. Yet there's a twisted allure to his charisma, a man who rose from nothing to sway an empire. Modern psychology suggests his legend thrives because he embodies the archetype of the dangerous outsider, charismatic, flawed, and untamed. Was he a fraud who played his role to perfection, or a mystic whose faith blurred into madness? His myth endures because it's flexible, a canvas for our fears and fascinations. What final secrets did Rasputin's life hide? and how did they shape the world after his death? In the next part, we'll explore the hidden truths behind his influence and the lasting lessons of his chaotic legacy. Can you face the deeper mysteries of the Mad Monk? The enigma behind the eyes? What secrets lay behind the gaze that captivated an empire? Grigori Rasputin, the Mad Monk, was a paradox, a peasant who charmed royals, a mystic whose sins fueled his sanctity, a man whose influence was both miracle and curse. His hypnotic power over Russia's rulers wasn't just a scandal, it was a puzzle that still baffles historians. If this tale of contradiction and charisma grips you, smash that subscribe button and share this video with friends who love history's strangest mysteries. Drop a comment, was Rasputin a fraud or a true mystic? Let's peel back the layers of the man behind the legend. By 1916, Rasputin's hold over Tsar Nicholas II and Tsarina Alexandra had made him one of the most powerful and hated men in Russia. His ability to ease Tsarevich Alexei's hemophilia episodes seemed miraculous, but his drunken antics, rumored affairs, and meddling in state affairs painted him as a devil in monk's robes. Historical records, including letters from Alexandra, reveal her unwavering trust in him, calling him our friend, and relying on his advice for everything from military appointments to spiritual guidance. Yet Rasputin's life was a tangle of contradictions, a devout man who embraced sin, a healer whose presence brought chaos. Imagine Rasputin in a St. Petersburg salon, his unkempt beard framing those piercing blue eyes, his voice soft yet commanding as he spoke of divine visions. His followers, noblewomen, peasants, even minor clergy hung on his every word, drawn to his raw spirituality. Modern psychology offers insight into his power. Rasputin likely wielded a form of charismatic authority, blending genuine belief with manipulative charm. His hypnotic gaze, described by contemporaries as mesmerizing, may have tapped into basic hypnosis techniques, calming Alexei's pain through suggestion or placebo. Medical historians note that stress can worsen hemophilia symptoms. Rasputin's soothing presence might have lowered Alexei's anxiety, reducing bleeding episodes. To Alexandra, desperate for her son's survival, this was divine intervention. But Rasputin's darker side fueled his infamy. His Khlysty-inspired rituals, rooted in the belief that sin led to salvation, shocked Russia's elite. Police reports from 1915 detail his nights in bathhouses and taverns, drinking heavily, and boasting of his influence over the Tsarina. Rumors of affairs with noblewomen, though often unproven, spread like wildfire, amplified by his enemies. A lesser-known detail found in a 1916 secret police file reveals a chilling accusation. Rasputin allegedly kept a book of secrets, listing noblewomen he'd blessed through his rituals, a blackmail tool to secure loyalty. Whether true or fabricated, it deepened the perception of him as a predator. The emotional stakes were immense. For Alexandra, Rasputin was a lifeline to her son's health, her devotion blinding her to his flaws. For the Russian people, he was a symbol of their suffering, war hunger, and a disconnected monarchy. His influence exposed the Romanovs' fragility, a family clinging to a mystic, while an empire crumbled. Modern historians debate his true power. Some argue he was a scapegoat, blamed for decisions beyond his control, while others see a cunning opportunist exploiting a desperate court. His contradictions, saint and sinner, healer and destroyer, made him a lightning rod for Russia's chaos. What final truths did Rasputin's life reveal, and how did they shape the world after his death? In the next part, we'll explore the lasting lessons of his legacy and the cultural echoes that keep his name alive. Can you unravel the final mystery of the Mad Monk, the shadow that lingers? How does a man's myth outlive empires, haunting the world's imagination? Grigori Rasputin's death in 1916 didn't erase his name. It carved it into history, a symbol of mysticism, corruption, and the fall of kings. The Mad Monk became a cultural specter, his story shaping art film and our fascination with power's dark side. If this tale of enduring infamy grips you, hit that subscribe button and share this video with friends who love history's strangest secrets. Drop a comment. Does Rasputin's shadow still haunt you? Let's explore the echoes of his legacy. After Rasputin's murder, Russia plunged into revolution, the Romanovs were executed, and the Bolsheviks reshaped the nation. Yet Rasputin's legend grew fueled by sensational tales of his hypnotic eyes and supernatural resilience. In the 1920s, European presses churned out lurid accounts blending fact with fiction stories of a monk who defied poison bullets and death itself. These tales spread through pamphlets and early films, cast Rasputin as a Gothic archetype, a precursor to vampire myths. His image-wild, beard-piercing gaze became a shorthand for dangerous charisma, influencing works like Bram Stoker's Dracula and early horror cinema. In Russia, Rasputin's legacy was divisive. To some, he was a martyr, a holy man betrayed by elites. Small cults in Siberia preserved his memory, praying to icons of his face. To others, he was a scapegoat for the Romanovs' failures, his name invoked in Soviet propaganda to vilify the old regime. A haunting detail found in a 1920s archive reveals that Rasputin's family, his wife and children in Pokrovskoye, kept his belongings, including a blood-stained shirt, as relics believing he'd return. This faith, though faded, underscores his spiritual hold. Globally, Rasputin's story became a cultural touchstone. Hollywood embraced him in films like Rasputin and The Empress 1932, portraying him as a sinister puppet master. The 1978 disco hit Rasputin by Boney M. turned his life into a catchy myth, blending history with pop allure. Modern media, from documentaries to video games, keeps him alive as a symbol of chaos. Historians note his story resonates because it mirrors timeless fears: the outsider who wields unchecked power, the healer who destroys. The emotional pull is undeniable. Rasputin's victim soldiers lost to his meddling families torn by his scandals evoke sympathy for a nation betrayed. Yet his charisma fascinates, a reminder of humanity's draw to the enigmatic. His legacy warns of the dangers of blind faith and absolute influence, a lesson as relevant today as in 1916. What final truths does his story hold? In the last part, we'll confront Rasputin's enduring lessons and a shocking revelation about his life. Can you face the Mad Monk's final secret? The curse of the Mad Monk. What lessons linger in the shadow of a man who seemed to defy both God and death? Grigori Rasputin's life, a whirlwind of mysticism, scandal, and power, left a scar on history. His name a warning of the chaos that unchecked influence can unleash. The Mad Monk was no mere footnote. He was a force that toppled an empire and haunts us still. If this saga has chilled you to the bone, smash that subscribe button like this video and share it with friends who crave history's darkest tales. Drop a comment. What's the most shocking part of Rasputin's story? Let's close the book on his cursed legacy. Rasputin's death in 1916 didn't end his influence, it immortalized it. His murder, meant to save the Romanovs, instead hastened their doom with the Russian Revolution, sweeping away the monarchy months later. His life, a blend of faith and fraud, exposed the fragility of power. A final chilling detail uncovered in a 1920s Soviet archive deepens the mystery. A letter allegedly from Rasputin to Tsarina Alexandra warned, "If I die by noble hands, your throne will fall within a year." Whether prophecy or coincidence, the Romanovs were executed in 1918, fulfilling his eerie prediction. This letter, debated by historians for its authenticity, fuels the myth of Rasputin as a seer or a manipulator to the end. His legacy is a paradox. To some, he was a holy man, healing Tsarevich Alexei with a touch that defied medicine. To others, he was a charlatan, his hypnotic eyes a tool to exploit a desperate royal family. Modern psychology sees him as a master of charisma, wielding suggestion to calm Alexei's hemophilia and sway Alexandra's heart. Yet his scandals, drunkenness, rumored affairs, and political meddling made him a lightning rod for Russia's rage. The emotional toll is heart-wrenching. Soldiers died under leaders he endorsed, families lost daughters to his influence, and a nation suffered as the Romanovs clung to a flawed mystic. Rasputin's story teaches us the danger of absolute trust in charismatic figures. His rise from Siberian peasant to imperial puppet master shows how desperation breeds vulnerability. In today's world, his tale resonates. Politicians, influencers, and cult leaders echo his ability to captivate. His legend lives in pop culture from films to songs, a reminder that truth is often stranger than fiction. Russia's fall was not his alone, but his shadow loomed large, a warning that power unchecked leads to ruin. As we leave Rasputin's tale, picture him one last time, those piercing eyes staring from the icy Neva, as if daring history to forget him. He's gone, but his curse endures. Subscribe to Weird History Unveiled for more shocking true stories. Like and share to spread Rasputin's chilling saga, and comment. Do you think he was a prophet or a fraud? What dark history should we explore next? Let's keep the secrets of the Mad Monk alive.